morning, and welcome to Morning Movie News, where yesterday the Captain Marvel movie added yet another cast member after cameras have begun to roll. Now, of course, the way a movie is filmed, they block the scenes so that you only need an actor for a certain amount of time. So it's totally within the range of normal that they put it was Annette Bening who was added to the cast. So it makes sense that the scenes for that character could have been slated to the end of the shoot, I guess to give time to cast the role, whatever. And so Annette Bening has just now come on board. This has become the norm in Hollywood. We'll talk about Annette Bening joining the Captain Marvel movie in just a second specifically. But first, I just want to touch on the fact that it has become normal for these movies to come together so late in the game. It used to be that when the cameras would roll, the picture was pretty locked down in terms of script, in terms of cast, etc. But now, I think that there's so much at stake financially for these movies. You want them to become long-running franchises. And also, I think the filmmakers are so unsure of themselves because the fandom can be so judgmental, I guess is a good word, right? There's just so much last minute tweaking. And so far, for the most part, it's fine. But I do worry about, I want stronger artistic choices to be made. And I'm very happy, for instance, with Thor Ragnarok and Black Panther in particular because of that. And so I worry, you don't want filmmaking is a team effort. That's one of the great things about it. And it's one of the reasons it can be something that has such strong mass appeal. But you also don't want things done by committee either. I think that visual flair and directorial vision is very, very important. So hopefully we don't eventually reach a tipping point. And hopefully that tipping point isn't the Captain Marvel movie. All right, so anyway, the Captain Marvel movie has added Annette Bening. And nobody knows who she's playing, but the rumor is it's a scientist, right? Obviously a lot of scientists in the film. Marvel is supposed to be, who Jude Law is playing is supposed to be a scientific individual. And so is actually Dr. Minerva, the villain. She usually has a scientific alter ego as well. From the Kree Empire. But anyway, I think that Annette Bening will be doing what actors of her caliber usually do in comic book movies, and that's just a couple of scenes where they show a whippersnapper how to use their powers, etc., whilst all the time not really committing to actually being in a comic book movie. I'm talking Robert Redford in The Winter Soldier, Michael Douglas in the Ant-Man, and now Ant-Man and the Wasp movies, and of course Glenn Close, infamously in Guardians of the Galaxy. I wish that they would have actors of this caliber have genuine roles. And so far they've kind of gotten B actors to do that, kind of from the same generation. I'm talking Benicio del Toro. I mean, I know he's an Oscar winner, but he's not at the level of those other actors. Kurt Russell, obviously in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Jeff Goldblum in Thor Ragnarok. They had legit roles. They were very much a part of the action, and they were also invested as individuals, as actors. And I thought that really made a huge difference. So maybe Annette Bening is playing a Celestial, right? Like Kurt Russell did, or an Elder of the Universe like Benicio or Jeff Goldblum. That would be nice. Annette Bening can be quite hilarious. So she would, I think, be able to definitely keep up with those other guys. So I hope she's in the Benicio, Kurt Russell, Jeff Goldblum group and not in the Robert Redford, Michael Douglas, Glenn Close group. What do you think? And what do you think of this part of the Marvel formula? Marvel's very formulaic, but I think this is one of my less favorite parts of the formula that I think, quite frankly, could go. I don't think that it needs these actors to vouch for it anymore. It's an astounding success. So I think if actors aren't going to play characters that are legitimately involved, and if the actors aren't going to be truly invested in being a part of the MCU, you don't need them. Marvel's, I think, it doesn't need the training wheels. It doesn't need the acting training wheels anymore. All right, so that's the first story of the day. Now, speaking of Marvel, they're also the second story of the day, and that's the comments that Bob Iger made on an investment call about Marvel having a new franchise post-Avengers. And he said, well, it's not like we're never going to make another Avengers movie because they make so much money, but we're moving on to a new franchise. Now, some people thought, it's the Eternals rumor that's going around. They're going to do like a cosmic version of the Avengers that's going to take place entirely in the Guardians of the Galaxy hemisphere of the MCU. But remember, as we've been discussing, Kevin Feige keeps it simple. And they have Black Panther 2 that he's hasn't been dated, but he said they're definitely going to make it. They already have a Spider-Man Homecoming 2 on the books. So I think that you're more likely looking at something that's going to just be like the Avengers, but it'll be rebranded in terms of the team name to mark this new era. So they could go New Avengers, but I saw some suggestions that it could be the Ultimates, and I think that could very much be the case. That, of course, being the name of the team in the Ultimate Marvel Universe, which was created. It gave us Ultimate Spider-Man, which eventually led to Miles Morales. They've merged the worlds. Well, they've just merged them enough to bring basically Miles Morales over. But there was like the Ultimate X-Men. It was done to try and bring, it was when the movies, the first wave of comic book movies were very successful, and it was Marvel's idea to try and get new readers to come in on a fresh starting point. They didn't have to learn all that. It was like the New 52 basically, but instead of wiping out the current continuity like DC did, it was an alternate universe, and it was actually very helpful to both the careers of Mark Miller and Brian Michael Bendis. It's also where Nick Fury, Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury came from, and so the name of the Avengers team there was the Ultimates, and so I think that would be a great team name. I think it would make a lot of sense, and I recently put up a video as to who I think the Phase 4 Avengers will be, but I guess that would be the Phase 4 Ultimates. I think it makes sense. It makes a clear delineation for the phases of the MCU. Very much stresses there's a new team. I don't know. It would be nice to see the Avengers roster always changing just like it does in the comics, but I can understand the need to brand a new team and make it seem fresh and all the more new, right? But I think New Avengers is just not enough. So I think it could very much be the Ultimates, but I think that's what Bob Iger is talking about. I don't think they're going to do something like the Eternals. They might have the Eternals show up maybe in a Guardians of the Galaxy movie, or maybe they could have the Ultimates team up with them or fight them, but I think that's more likely the Ultimates is what's likely going to happen. All right, so that's the second story of the day. Now, the third story of the day is something that really annoys me, and this is that this equal pay garbage has come back again. Now, of course, everyone should be paid for the work that they do, but it should always be what you've earned, what value you bring to the table. I'm not a fan of paying. I think it's not fair to have equal pay along gender lines, which is what some people in Hollywood are trying to do now, simply because people are of this, it's like, oh, everybody who's a lead in this movie or in this TV show should get paid the same. And I think it's absolutely horrible to not recognize the accomplishments that people bring to projects from what they've accomplished beforehand. And, I think if that means nothing, that's a really weird industry, or that's a really weird way to run a business. Okay, so let me explain what's going on. So of course The Crown was a really bad situation where the producers, for some ridiculous reason, decided to, on their own, voluntarily divulge that Claire Foy was not paid the same as Matt Smith. But Claire Foy, as I said at the time, her reward was getting cast in the lead of a television show on Netflix opposite Matt Smith, who was a Doctor Who, even though she was a complete nobody. That was her pay. That was part of her pay. And it seems that behind the scenes, Netflix or the production company have indeed quietly paid Claire Foy the difference, which I think is incredibly unfair to Matt Smith. He brought people in, and also Claire Foy's salary could have gone up for the second season, but she signed for 2 seasons when she initially joined the show, and it's her choice and her representation's choice not to hold the second season hostage and demand more pay then, like Jennifer Lawrence infamously did with the Hunger Games movies. She's like, I don't care what contract I signed. I'm not showing up to work till you give me a bonus. Go ahead, delay the sequel. And of course, Lionsgate paid. So I'm really upset they actually went back and paid Claire Foy more money because, she's now worth more money. But I don't think it's fair I think it's not fair to dismiss the accomplishments that Matt Smith brought to the table when the show first started. So this has come up again at Cannes, all right? So at the Cannes Film Festival, Javier Bardem and Penelope Cruz have made a movie together. They're also married, of course, as you might recall, called Everybody Knows, and it's playing at Cannes. It's debuting at Cannes. And so they were asked if they were paid the same, and Penelope Cruz said, yes, in this instance, we were. But I think this is a good example of 2 actors that are on the same level. Javier Bardem and Penelope Cruz, I think, are equals, very much so, in a business sense. So they would be paid the same. I mean, it's about women. It's up to women creating value in their brand, right? Actors are paid what they are worth in terms of what they bring to the table, in terms of audience, critical interest. The critics would pay attention to the movie because of their involvement, and also if they've won any awards and if they can help the movie be an awards contender this time around. That's what you get paid for, right? And the reason I bring it up is that there's a Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom same kind of story floating around that I have a big problem with. And that's that for Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, the sequel, Chris Pratt made $2 million more than Bryce Dallas Howard. He got $10 million to her $8. I think Bryce Dallas Howard should be so happy that she got $8 million. She's not worth $8 million. That's very nice of them to do that. I mean, she is the female lead. You know, people liked her in the first movie, so she should get a raise. And for there only to be a $2 million difference between their salaries, to me, is nuts. Chris Pratt is in Guardians of the Galaxy. He's in the Marvel movies, the MCU, just coming off of Infinity War. He's also a voice of the Lego films. I mean, he's really very much a movie star these days. Whereas Bryce Dallas Howard, outside of the Jurassic World movies, she did Pete's Dragon, and she wasn't even the lead in Pete's Dragon. So I think it's just absolutely crazy that anyone would have a problem that there was a difference in their pay. Again, especially because I don't think Bryce Dallas Howard is worth what she's been paid. I think it's nuts. Some out of this discussion, though, some good things to point to are that Patty Jenkins is getting $9 million to direct Wonder Woman 2. Very much an earned raise, and I think she's worth it. That's an example of the system working. Patty Jenkins proved that she is, and also I think she's very much a draw to audiences now. She's become a named director that has her own fandom, and so that also increases her value. And then also look at this. Emily Blunt has worked her way up to 8 to 10 for Jungle Cruise, opposite Dwayne Johnson. I think that's fabulous. I think after A Quiet Place, she totally has earned that money. So that's fantastic. Then also some other female paydays that have been pretty high recently are apparently for Anne Hathaway for the upcoming Barbie movie. She took over from Amy Schumer. Two such horribly disliked actresses. I don't know why they want to cast someone so unlikable as Barbie. It seems weird to me. But anyway, and then Jennifer Lawrence, of course, also got $15 million. They both got $15 million, but Jennifer Lawrence for Red Sparrow. I think in both those cases, it was kind of like $15 million to do something maybe they shouldn't, right? That turned out not to be a good experience for Jennifer Lawrence with Red Sparrow. She was not, they overpaid for her in that film. We'll see if Anne Hathaway is worth that $15 million for Barbie. But I think that a good example of someone who gets paid a lot of money these days and is worth it is Sandra Bullock. She's very much a draw. She's now an awards winner. She's the complete package, and she did it. She earned that place, and that's why she gets the money. That's why I mean, you shouldn't be getting, this isn't, we don't want to have like socialist movies, right, where it's like everyone gets paid the same amount of money. And just think about that. Think how you would feel if you had accomplished a lot, you had a great career, and you worked really hard, and then someone just fresh comes in and they're like, well, we're going to pay you the same because, that's how we do things these days. I mean, it just negates what anybody brings. I mean, why would you then do that effort? I guess to get other maybe branding deals and advertisements, but it just seems weird to me. I mean, the whole idea of in any business and any career is to build something, and this takes away from it, which I think is very weird. All right, so I'm curious to hear your thoughts on that as well. Now, I got a great viewer question from Layla Uraeus, who tweeted me, and Layla said, @Grace Randolph. Hi, Grace. I love your channel, and I created a Twitter account just to ask you this question. Layla, I am honored, and welcome to Twitter. So Layla says, so I want to know if the Latino community will soon be represented in Marvel movies after the success of Black Panther. And what do you think of it? Kisses from Brazil. Layla, you're so sweet. I wish that I had a better answer for you. But I think that it's not hopeless. First, I'd like to point out that the Black movie-going audience has, I think, more purchase power than the Latino community does. That, Coco was very impressive, but it's not the level of, well, it was actually very, very strong, but it's not quite the level of Black Panther, but it's getting there. So I think that it's certainly on the horizon. Now, the best chances you have are, unfortunately, outside of the MCU proper, at least for now. We'll see if this Disney-Fox deal does go through. But your best bet, by far and away, is the way they've reimagined X-23 and Logan, and that is, of course, being from Mexico. Daphne Keane did a fabulous job in the role. A lot of people really liked her character. I had some problems with the way it was done, but overall, I'm a fan. I'd love to see it move forward, and that would be a great chance for representation. So that's your best bet. Character's already on the board, already has a fan base. The wheels are already in motion. Then also, there's Dr. Cecilia Reyes, who is a mutant, and she's going to be in the New Mutants movie played by Alice Braga, so that's fabulous. However, it seems that she will be a villain in the film. But hey, again, on the board. Then, of course, there's Miles Morales, who has an animated movie coming out this holiday season from Sony Marvel, and he is supposed to be half Latino. I mean, obviously his name is Miles Morales. Hopefully they'll really play that up in the animated film. So you have that as well. So that's fabulous. But if you want something, Layla, within the actual MCU, I think the best opportunity would be potentially Victor Mancha, who is son of Ultron. He is like a human-robot hybrid built by Ultron. Very cool character. Currently in the new Runaways comic, which is very well written. He's just ahead right now, but I think things are progressing. But he's still, he's a very entertaining head. But Victor Mantra is a very cool character. Ultron already in the MCU. Maybe they could bring him back via Victor. I think that could be a really interesting choice. So, Layla, I wish I had better news for you, but I think that it's a possibility. I think Coco, come to think of it, is a great, bit of evidence that it should be pursued, and I think those are the best routes. So we'll see what happens. So I'm curious, everybody. Oh, and Layla, thank you so much for such a wonderful question, and for joining Twitter to just to ask it. Again, I am honored. So everybody, please write down below, I think, today's top 3 stories, Layla's viewer question, anything you'd like to see covered tomorrow, and of course, any questions that you might have. Thanks for watching. Bye.